Okay, so now we've got the 3 spawning floors put in, and we've got the 2 platforms with all of the bottom doors, all of the main village doors put in. It's time to start putting down some redstone. So get yourself over to the west platform, the west door platform, north, east, south, west, naughty elephant, squirt water. Never eat shredded wheat. However you want to remember which way west is, you want to come over to the west hand side. And you want to take out your slabs, and you want to put a row of slabs all the way down on the inside of the hole that you made in the door platform. Like that. Now against the face of this slab, you need to put down a sticky piston. Has to be a sticky piston. Like that. And then on the face of that block, you need to put down, the face of the sticky piston, you need to put down a solid block. Like that. Okay. And then on top of this block, you need to put down another sticky piston facing the other way. So you need to put it down like that. And you want to do that all the way down to the end. And then on the face of this sticky piston, you want to put yourself down another solid block. Like that. So what you need to do now is take a line of solid blocks, and you want to put a solid block there, and you want to run these all the way down to the end. So now you've got that. Now you want to take out your repeaters, and you need to put a repeater and then a space and then a repeater and then a space, and you want to put down 8 repeaters. So starting at the front, the north end of your farm, you need to put a repeater, miss, repeater, miss, repeater, miss, repeater, miss, repeater, miss, repeater, miss, repeater. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then another repeater. Okay, so you've got 8 repeaters, and then you want to do the same, only mirrored. So you want to put a repeater, miss 1, repeater, miss, repeater, miss, repeater, miss, repeater, miss, repeater, miss, repeater, miss, and then a repeater. So you should have 8 repeaters there, and then 2 repeaters in the middle that join together, and then 8 repeaters up here. This is basically to cut down on repeaters. If you wanted to, there is no reason why you can't have repeaters all the way down, but that's just a waste if you ask me. So that's why we do it like that. And then take out your redstone dust, and you need to put dust on every one of the other blocks, joining all of the repeaters together. And all these repeaters can stay on the basic 1 tick delay. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now you want to take out a couple of levers, and you want to get to the middle where the 2 repeaters are in the middle, and you want to put 2 levers on those blocks there. Okay, bang in the middle, and you want to flick them both on. Now the reason we have to use two levers and not just the one is that lever there will reach all the way down to the end here, but it falls 1 short down this end, doesn't quite make it, which is why you need the second lever. Flick that one on, comes all the way down to the end, and they want to be left on. They want to stay on, and I'll explain why, or you'll see why in just a second. Now you want to go around the other side, the outside, and you need to put down a temporary block, and then one on top of it, and you can pop that one out at the bottom, and then you need to put a torch, a redstone torch, on that block there. Okay, and as you can see, the redstone torch powers that piston, forcing this block over, and then this block is powered via the repeater there, and via the quasi connectivity it powers that piston at the bottom, which pushes this block over. So now in effect there are no blocks as far as the door validation is concerned, there are no blocks above them there, because a piston is like a block of glass. It's transparent as far as door validation is concerned. And when the torch turns off, both pistons retract, pulling back that block and that block, which then cover the gap and cause the doors to become invalid. Like that. So run yourself down a solid block at this level all the way down to the end of your pistons. Being careful not to run off the end of your build, because that would be silly. Now take out your redstone torches, and you want to put a redstone torch on the face of all of these blocks. They should all open, and you should have something that looks a little bit like that. Now you want to take out some redstone dust again, and you want to put redstone dust along the top of all of these blocks that you just put your torches on. Like that. Now you need to take out your redstone lamps. Now you don't need redstone lamps. These are just so you can see which doors have been validated while the cycle is commencing. But I think it's just really useful, so I'm going to use them. So get your redstone torches, your redstone lamps out, and put a lamp on top of every one of those blocks there. They'll all come on. But obviously, if the torch was off and the doors couldn't be validated, weren't valid, then the lamp would be off. But as soon as the pistons open, the doors can be validated, or the doors are valid, and the lamp comes on. Now what you need to do is take out some slabs, and you want to put a line of slabs on top of all of these redstone lamps, because the lamps, when they're out, are spawnable spaces, and you just don't run the risk of getting things spawned up here. So if you cover them with slabs, then nothing's going to spawn on there. By the same token, these pistons are also spawnable, and when the pistons are closed like that, that block there is also spawnable. Now you can't put slabs on top of there, because if you do that, you render the contraption useless, because you're still blocking you're still invalidating the doors because of those slabs there. So you can't put slabs above the pistons, but what you can put above there to stop things from spawning are glass blocks. So grab yourself some glass blocks, can be any glass block as long as it's a glass block, and just put 2 glass blocks above every one of these pistons. Like that. And you want to run these all the way down to the end. So now you've got something that looks like that. Now we've done that, we need to put in the subtraction circuits that are going to validate the doors in a specific sequence. So you want to get down, north's up there, get down to the end, the back end, the south end of your farm, and you want to put down 4 solid blocks right at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then next to that, you want to put down 3 blocks, and then a 1 block just there like that. Okay, so 4, then 3, then the 1. Then take out your comparators. You need to put a comparator there with a blob of dust behind it. And then you want to turn around and put a comparator facing outwards and a comparator next to it facing inwards. Okay, like that. And then on the face of that comparator, you want a block. And on the face of this comparator, you want a block. And then you want a blob of redstone dust just there, and a blob of redstone dust just there. So now you should have that. Now it's very, very important that you put both of these comparators on the subtract mode. Okay, if you leave them on normal mode, this won't work. So put them both on subtract mode. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now take out your solid blocks again, and you want to put a solid block there, one next to it, and then you want to put one down on the bottom, like that. And on the side of this block, you need to put a redstone torch. Just there. Okay? And then another solid block on top of that. And then you need to put a repeater there. A bit of redstone dust just there, which should be powered because of that torch. And then on that block there, facing outwards, you need to put down another comparator. Now that will lock that comparator. You don't have to put that on subtract mode. That stays as it is. And then take out your hopper, and you'll need to crouch and look at the back of the comparator. You want to put the hopper facing into the back of that comparator. Now in that hopper, you want to put an item that will stack in 64s. Okay, so don't put an ender pearl in there, or an egg, or a snowball. It needs to be something that stacks in 64s. I'm using redstone dust, but you can use dirt, you can use cobble. As long as they stack in 64s, put one item in there. Now on top of that, you want to put down a solid block. And that's purely to stop anything accidentally falling in there. Okay, because if you get another item in there, it's going to affect the circuit. So put a block on top of that, put a slab on top of that to stop it from spawning, and Bob's your uncle, as they say. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now you want to take out your solid blocks again. You need to get down under here, underneath your hopper that you've just placed, and you want to go one further along to these two blocks here, and you want to pop out the bottom block. Okay, and then you want to put another block, another solid block at the bottom. So you've got your solid block, then a gap, and then then a solid block at the top. Now you want to put a redstone torch on there, but when you do that, all of these pistons are going to fire. So be careful, because it might make you jump. It made me jump anyway. So you just put a redstone torch on there. If they don't all fire and all close, then you might want to recheck your circuit, because it means you've done something wrong. Now you want to come round to the front, or the outside again, take out a repeater, and you need to put a repeater facing into that block that you've just put down, the block that's got the redstone torch on top of it. Just there. And then you want to put down a bit of dust, and then run a line of dust 4 or 5 blocks that way down towards the front of your farm, and we'll join that up in a second. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now we need to put another one of those mirrored in the middle here. So we want to come all the way down to where the dust goes out. So that dust is on, this dust goes out, and you want to put a line of 4 solid blocks against that block there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you want to put 3 blocks and then 1 block. Exactly mirroring what we did down here. Then take out your comparator there, blob of dust, comparator there, both of those on subtract mode. Then a solid block on the face of that comparator, a solid block on the face of that comparator, blob of dust, and a blob of dust there, like that. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now grab another solid block. You want to put a solid block just there with a comparator on it facing outwards. Then you want to crouch and put a hopper facing into that comparator, and again put one item that is stackable in 64s in there. So now you should have something that looks a little bit like that. Now what you need to do is put a line of blocks all the way down here, joining up with that repeater there, and then you want to put a blob of redstone dust just there, with a repeater there, and then you want to join these two repeaters up with a line of redstone dust. So now you've got something that looks like that. Now again, don't forget to stick your solid block and the slab above there. And it's probably good practice, unless you want to go around lighting all of these up as you go, just stick a slab on top of these solid blocks. And that's just going to stop things from spawning on them if you forget to light it up. Now, as we did at that end, we need to close all of these pistons. So we want to get down under here. Okay, to this block where there are two blocks, and you want to pop that one out. Solid block there, and then you want to put a torch on, redstone torch on that block, and that will close all of the remaining pistons. So this circuit here, this subtraction circuit here, is responsible for the first 15 pistons, and this subtraction circuit here is responsible for these 15 pistons. And then grab yourself a repeater, put a repeater there, and then you can join both of those repeaters up with that line of redstone dust like that. Now we've got that, we need to put in the 1 tick pulse switch. I'm going to call it the frill switch because I can. So you want to get to the repeater that is at the south end of the farm. Okay, that one there. You want to count up 4 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And you want to put a temporary block just there. Okay, and then stick a block next to it. You can pop that one out. Then put a block on top of that block and put a redstone torch on the face of that block there. So it's going to light up this dust. Now you want to come around to the outside and you need to put 2 blocks there, and then 3 blocks there and 2 blocks there. So you want a pattern like that. And then you want to take out your repeaters and you want to put a repeater there facing into the block that's got the torch on it. You need to put a repeater facing into the side of that repeater, and then a repeater next to it, and this repeater has to be on 3 ticks. So these two are on the standard 1 tick, but this one has to be on 3 ticks. And then take out your redstone dust, put blobs of dust there, there and there, and then throw down another block down there, put a bit of redstone dust on that, and then a repeater going into that block like so. So now you've got something that looks like that. Now to finish off this circuit, you need to get down to the center subtraction circuit, the one here, and you need to put a redstone torch on that block that is in between the 2 comparators. So you've got your 2 comparators there and your bit of dust. You need a redstone torch on this on the side of that block. Then you want to grab yourself a repeater and you want to go down here. You're going to have to, your best if you've got jump boost. As I said earlier on, if you've got jump boost, then it's really going to help you out, because you need to come down here and you need to put a repeater facing into this block. Okay, the block there that's got the redstone torch on it, you need a repeater facing into it just there. Okay. And then you want to link up this repeater with dust to that torch there. So that torch, when the torch comes on, it's going to power that dust, which is going to power that repeater, which is going to unpower that torch. Now we need to grab a solid block again, and we need to power this line of dust here. We need to put power into it. So if we count back 4 blobs of dust. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If we put the block just there, and then we put a redstone torch on it, like that, that's going to power that line of dust, which will unpower those redstone lamps there. And they're the redstone lamps that put the signal strength of 15 into the subtraction circuit. When we reset the system, this subtraction circuit has to be powered up to 15 in order to unpower all of these torches, which closes all of these sticky pistons. And that's what those redstone torches do just there. And in order to stop them from continually putting a signal strength of 15 into the subtraction circuit, we power them to turn them off. So that's what that does, like that. So now is probably a very good time to test it, because you've done quite a bit of work on this so far. The last thing you want to do is build the rest of it only to find that the system or the circuit isn't working properly. So grab yourself a couple of buttons. You'll need to put a button on top of that block there. That's your reset switch. And you need to put a button on the side of there. And that's your that's the circuit that will reduce the, or will open the pistons. So if you press that button, the end pistons should open and the light comes on, and it does. So when the guy in the minecart goes around and goes over the detector rail, this is the line, this is a redstone line that he's going to be putting a signal through. So he falls down the tower, he goes around, he goes over the detector rail. That system powers, it opens another piston. And this happens 30 times. Now sit here and press this button 30 times. Because if you forgot to put, or if you haven't put this torch in, which is powering this circuit to stop it from subtracting, then you'll get down to about here and the system will start to open these trapdoors at this end. In fact, I'm going to show you what I mean. So let me just take that torch out. Now at the moment you can see this subtraction circuit is also working as well as this subtraction circuit. And then all of a sudden, because this is working and this is working, it does funny things with the pistons. Okay, so you need to check it to make sure that doesn't happen, and that's because you haven't got a redstone torch under there. Okay, so if that happens, just check it, make sure your redstone torch is there, and then reset the pistons like that, and then just test it again. Brilliant. So as long as that works in sequence and each piston opens, if you get a couple of pistons opening at the same time, double check your wiring, because something has gone wrong. So they need to open in sequence, one at a time, all the way down. And if it does, then you should have something that looks like that. And then to reset it, to close them all again, you just press this button just there. So now we've done the mechanism on the west side of the iron farm. We need to do exactly the same on the east side. Now we want to get ourselves over to the east side of the farm, and we want to build exactly what we've built over there, as if we've spun it round by 180 degrees. So all of the mechanism is now going to be on this side at the front of the farm. It's on the back of the farm over on the west side. It's going to be on the front of the farm over on the east side. So what you need to do now is just rewind back to the beginning, about 30 seconds or so into the video, and just watch that again and build exactly what you've built over there, over here. And now you've done that, you should have something that looks very much like this. Now we need to put in a bit of redstone that is going to increment the frill switch by one every time the villager goes around the system. So you want to get over to the west side of the farm again, over here, and you want to put a solid block next to the left-hand side lever. Okay, so you've got north there, you're on the west-hand side, you want to find the two levers in the middle, you want to put a block, solid block, just there. And then coming out of the solid block to the left, you want to put down a repeater. Now you want to take out your dust and you need to count 15 blocks of redstone back towards the back end of the farm. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now this lip here that we put on right at the beginning, this piece needs to drop down by half a block. At the moment, if you try, you can't put any redstone dust on that particular block because it's a bottom slab and you need it to be a top slab. So you want to pop those out and just replace them. And you need to do that all the way down to where it joins onto the switch. So all the way down to here. So I've forgotten now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Then we'll stick down a repeater and then run another line of dust. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12, 13, 14. Not quite far enough. Now we may have to mess about with these repeaters later because we've got quite a lot of redstone coming up and down this channel at the end of the farm, right on the very edge. So we may have to move these repeaters and change the dust around, but we'll do that later. But that will do for the time being. So now the guy will fall down the center column, this column here, on a minecart. He'll go over a detector that's about here, which is then going to put a post through this redstone line, which is going to put a 1-tick post through this switch here. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now we're going to put in the redstone system that holds the villager at the top every time you reset the farm. So when we reset the farm, we need the villager to stay up there for 60 seconds in order to invalidate all of the doors before he starts falling down and creating new villagers. Because as I mentioned before, if he starts to fall down and create villagers while these doors are still valid, it is just going to be adding doors to villagers that are already down here. So he needs to be held at the top for 60 seconds after the reset in order to invalidate all of the doors. So we're going to do that using this torch here. So you need to grab yourself a slab, top slab, and you need to put a temporary slab just there. Then you want a slab there, one there, and then you want to run a line of slabs down to here. And then the last block on the line needs to be a solid block. Okay, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 slabs, and then a solid block. And you want to run a line of dust on the top of all of those slabs. Now here we're going to put a couple of hoppers facing into each other, and they're just like a switch. It's just a delay switch. So what you need to do is you'll need to put a hopper facing the solid block that you've just put down, then crouch and put a hopper going into the side of that hopper. As you can see, the nozzle is going into that one. Then you need to break the first hopper and then replace it with a hopper going into the other hopper. So now if we put an item in there, it's going to bounce backwards and forwards from one hopper to the other. Now what we need to do is grab a redstone torch and put a torch just there. And that is going to lock the hopper. It's going to lock this hopper. So items from this hopper can flow into the locked hopper, but items can't flow out of a locked hopper. And then when this torch lights up, it's going to power this block, which locks this hopper, but it will also unpower this torch, which unlocks this hopper. So everything that is then in this hopper will flow over to this hopper. How many times can I say hopper in a sentence? And then you want to throw 2 stacks of items, stack into 64s. Again, you can't be using eggs or snowballs. You need something that stacks in 64s. And you want to throw 2 stacks into one of the hoppers, and it'll flow through into the locked hopper. Like that. And then you need to grab a couple of solid blocks and spawn proof them. And that way, nothing is going to accidentally fall into the hoppers and mess up with your timings. So now you should have something that looks like that. Okay, now we've done that on the west side. We need to do something very, very similar on the east side. So go over to the opposite corner, over to here. Again, we need to put down a solid block next to the left-hand lever, like that. And then you want to put a repeater going into it and a repeater coming out of it. Run a line of redstone dust. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Again, we need to drop this line of slabs down by 1 so we can put redstone dust on it. And we need to bring it up again just here. Repeater there, and then another line of dust. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Stick a repeater there. Again, on this side, we are going to have to chop and change where the repeaters are. We're probably going to have to move them about a little bit, but we'll do that when we start putting the other redstone in. Then just double check that you haven't extended the redstone too far. 14, 15, check, check, and double check. So that's that done on the east side. So now you should have something that looks just like that. So now we need to stick the pods on the east and west ends of the farm for the villagers to stand in. So what you need to do is get yourself over to the west hand side, north, west, over this side. You need to, and there's no easy way of doing this in survival, so I apologise for that. If you've built this on the floor, and you can, in fairness, build this at ground level, then this is probably not going to be too difficult. But if you've built this at Y150, then this is going to be absolutely perilous. But there you go. You need to find the block that's got that repeater on it. So it's almost the centre of the farm. It's not the exact centre because the farm is 30 blocks long. And 30 is obviously an even number. So you need to find that repeater there, and you need to come down to the light that is underneath the repeater, and you want to put a dispenser facing this way underneath that jack-o'-lantern or the sea lantern or the glowstone or whatever it is that you've used for lighting. And it's got to be a dispenser, it can't be a dropper. So I'm going to say dispenser about 15 times now, just so you know that it's a dispenser, because if it's not a dispenser, then it won't dispense the water. If it's a dropper, it will just drop the water or the water bucket. So make sure it's a dispenser. Then you want to come down by 3 solid blocks. 1, 2, 3. And then you want to put another dispenser just there. Okay? So you've got repeater, centre block, bit of lighting, and then a dispenser, 3 solid blocks, and then another dispenser. Now you just need to put solid blocks down the left and right of those blocks there. Like that. And then you stick your 3 blocks underneath. 1, 2, 3, like so. And then come out and do a little platform now. So you need to come out under the 2 blocks. So 1, 2. Like that. Now, remaining with your solid blocks, you need to put a solid block just there and another one just there. These are going to have your tripwire hooks on them, so take out your tripwire hooks. You want a tripwire hook there and there, and then a bit of string in the middle. And that's going to do a couple of jobs actually. Well, it's going to do one main job in a second, that we'll hook that up in a minute. But when the villager gets raised up to the top, his head, or most of his body, is going to be through this tripwire hook, which is going to put power into this block there. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now grab yourself some glass, and this doesn't have to be glass, but obviously if it's not glass you're not going to be able to see what's going on inside, and it's going to be very difficult to troubleshoot if you can't see what your village is doing. So grab yourself some glass, and you need to put some glass all the way up to the tripwire hook on both sides, like that, and then all the way up the front. And you need to extend this all the way up to the top, and that way if anything does happen to spawn on here, and if this is light then they shouldn't be able to, but you never know if one spawns in the middle somewhere where there's a block that's just not quite lit up enough and makes its way out here. You don't want a zombie jumping in there with your villager, so make sure that you fully encase him in glass. He'll thank you for it in the end, I'm sure. So now you've got something that looks like that. Now, in these dispensers, we're going to be putting some water, but we've still got a fair bit of redstone to be messing around with around here. So if you put water in there now, there's a good chance you're just going to be turning it on and off, and that could cause you problems later on. So for the time being, don't put water in the dispensers, but ultimately that's what we're going to be doing. So now you should have something that looks just like this. Now we want to go over the other side, and we want to do exactly the same. So whiz over here, find this block that's got the repeater on it, go down to the light source, put a dispenser, 3 solid blocks, and then a dispenser, solid blocks down the sides and under the bottom, up the other side. Then a little 2x3 platform, and then on these blocks here we want to put solid blocks with tripwire hooks on them, bit of string in the middle, and then fill the rest of it up floor to ceiling with glass. So now you should have that. Now we want to get back over to the west side again, and we need to take out some slabs, and we need to put 5 slabs down on the right hand side of the block that's got the tripwire hook on it. So this block here, we need to go 5 slabs to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On top of the 5th slab we need to put a solid block, and on the face of that block we need to put a redstone torch. On the top of the redstone torch we need to put a solid block, like that. Okay, 5 slabs, solid block, redstone torch, solid block on top of it. Then we need to make our way up to the top. We need to find this block here. Okay, this one. We need to break it, and we need to put a sticky piston next to the block that you've just placed, and it should extend. And then you want to put a solid block back on top of it. Okay, so now you've got that. And we want to do exactly the same thing over on the other side. So get to the right of the tripwire hook, 5 slabs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, solid block, redstone torch, solid block on top of the redstone torch, go top side, break out this block here. Put your sticky piston and a solid block on top of it, like that. Now you need to just grab yourself some redstone dust and run a line of redstone dust along the top of those slabs leading into that block that's got the torch on it. So now every time your villager goes up into the tripwire hook, is going to put some power through the redstone line, which is going to turn the torch off, which is going to turn off the sticky piston, which is going to drop down that block there. And then don't forget to do the same on the other side. So now you've got that. Back on the west side again, we need to put some power now into the dispensers. So we do that with a couple of slabs. We need 3 slabs. There and there. Okay, so the power now, if we put dust on top of those blocks, it runs into the block that's next to the top dispenser. Then we need to put a solid block just there, put a redstone torch on top of it, and that's the reason we didn't put water in these dispensers to start with, because it would just keep dispensing water while we're playing with it. Now we need to put a block just there, okay, with another redstone torch on the side of it. Now we need to put a blob of dust just there as well. Now we need to put some redstone dust on top of this on top of this block. So we need to get back up on top side and just pop out a few blocks around it just to make sure you've got the right one, okay? Because we need to put a redstone bit of dust there, but we need to put another slab above this redstone torch. We can't put a solid block. If we put a solid block, that happens. Okay, and then it all breaks and there's tears and everything. So we need to put a top slab there to stop that from happening, and then we can fill the rest back in again with solid blocks. And now we need to put a solid block above that redstone torch, the redstone dust, like that. And now we need to put a repeater going into that block. Okay, and now we need to do exactly the same thing over the other side. So take out your slabs, 3 slabs, 1, 2, 3, put a bit of dust on it. Solid block there, redstone torch, bit of dust, solid block with a redstone torch, then up onto the top, pop out a few blocks, redstone dust on there, then a slab above the torch so it doesn't create the burnout clock. Fill this back in with solid blocks and put a solid block above your dust, and then put a repeater going into the solid block. So now every time you get power through that repeater there, the dispenser fires. So now you've got that. So we're back over on the west side of the farm again, just to do the last little bit of redstone in this part, in part 2. So you want to get over to the right hand side of the farm. There's north, so it's the right hand side. We need to put down a redstone torch on top of that, on the side of that block there. Then we need to put down 2 blobs of dust, there and there, and then a repeater. Now we need to pop out those 2 blocks. We need to replace this block with a slab, like that. And then we need to put a solid block on the face of the repeater, and then a solid block on the face of that door, like that. Okay, so now when on the very first cycle, when these pistons are opened, because the signal strength of this line is reduced by 1, which turns on this torch, which opens these pistons, it will also turn on this torch, which is going to put a signal down a stair step into that dispenser there. Okay, so we've got that block there. We just need to run down blocks a little bit further. Like that. And then grab yourself some solid blocks or some slabs. We might as well use solid blocks. And just run it into the dispenser. And now we can put redstone dust on top of all of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's plenty. That's fantastic. Now, if you've used jack-o'-lanterns or glowstone here, you can put redstone on jack-o'-lanterns and glowstone. Like that. But if you've used sea lanterns all the way along, for some reason you can't put redstone on top of a sea lantern, although you can on top of a bit of glowstone. Not quite sure why, but if that's the case, you're just going to have to use a solid block, and then there's just going to be a few spaces there where there is no light. And you could, if you wanted to, you could always stick a torch in there, but the lighting should be perfectly okay inside here, that you shouldn't have to worry by losing just a couple of torches. Yeah, I mean the lighting's up to, yeah, plenty, nothing to worry about. So then you stair step that down like I've just done there into that bottom dispenser. And now you need to do exactly the same on the other side. So whiz over to the other side, the opposite corner. Put a torch, 2 bits of dust, a repeater. Pop out those 2 blocks and replace the second one with a slab. Then a solid block on the face of the repeater and a solid block underneath. Put a blob of redstone dust on there. And then stair step it down. Like that, and then cover the blocks with redstone dust. Now don't worry about mobs spawning on here anyway, because they won't spawn on redstone, so I wouldn't worry about that at all. So now you've got that. Now the last little thing, which we should have done to start with, and I apologise for not telling you this to start with, we need to replace that centre block there with a bottom slab. Okay, so just pop those out and replace it with a bottom slab like that. And that way, nothing is going to be able to spawn on that block that your village is going to be standing on. So apologies for the oversight. Whiz round here. Knock out those 2, replace it with a bottom slab, and that way your village is perfectly safe.